FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried expected to be back on the witness stand today at his federal fraud trial. On Friday, the former crypto king told jurors that he did not commit fraud and said he thought his company's outside spending, like paying for the naming rights to a sports arena, came out of company profits. He admitted he made mistakes, but said he never set out to take customers' money. Joining us right now is someone who has been following this case very closely. Teddy Schleifer, the founding partner at Puck. And Teddy, this has been an amazing case. I know you've been there for a lot of it and have watched testimony. You said that Caroline Ellison's testimony was, for you, pretty seminal, and you think that's going to have a big deciding factor.
Sure. I mean, look, the entire case of the prosecution is bolstered by tremendous documentary evidence from the three people that he worked most closely with. And you can bet that, as part of the closing statements later this week, you're going to hear Carolyn again and again and again. You're also going to hear again and again and again later today when, Sam is cross-examined by the prosecution, which is sort of the risk that Sam opened himself up to by agreeing to testify. Like, last week on Friday, Sam got the chance to tell his life story, and I'm sure it felt good after sitting there for weeks upon end, hearing people say mean things about him, to say his piece. But like, today is kind of the punishment for what happened on Friday, right? Now he's going to have hours upon hours of every hole poked possible in his testimony from Friday, and it's going to be painful. It's going to be probably entertaining, and it's going to be sad and dramatic. But Sam signed up for this. You guessed a long time ago that his ego would not allow him to not testify in this case. Yeah. I mean, I do not think that he could have resisted. I'm open to the idea that him testifying actually could have been a rational, expected value calculation, given the fact that he was already, in so much legal trouble. Maybe he thought, what do I have to lose? But I also think that he is somebody who has lived and seen the highest highs based on his own personality, based on that ego. And he's the same person he was a year ago, right? He hasn't undergone some sort of personality transplant. He's the same person, and he's as much a believer in his charms and his wiles as he was when he, talked with Andrew in November 2022 or talked with me in 2020. He's a believer in the Sam Bankman-Fried narrative. Do you think there's? Oh, sorry. I was going to ask. Do you think there's any juror in that room, that one juror, that single person who could ever be a holdout for him, or do you think it's just such a slam dunk at this point? Look, there's 12 people there. Can you convince one person? Right, but is there anything that you've heard the entire time? And I'll be straight with you. Sure. And I haven't been there as many days as you, but I feel like I have not seen, having lived through cases, whether it was, Dennis Kozlowski 20 years ago, or Frank Quattrone, these were mistrials where there was at least a juror or something amiss, right? There were enough people in the courtroom where you'd get a feeling that there was either some sympathy for the defendant or a view that maybe the defendant was being wrongly accused or wrongly something. Right. I will tell you, you do not feel that, at least from the vantage point that I've had in this instance. It's tough. It's tough from us, in the where we're sitting, to overly scrutinize the hand through the hair or the facial reactions of the jurors. But look, Sam has not mounted a credible defense to date. I mean, the entire defense case is basically Sam. And if you're a juror and you're trying to sit there saying, what is the reason I have to vote, to acquit? I don't know what you're looking at. I mean, you're basically believing that this character is more credible than, the preponderance of documentary evidence and, Carolyn, Nishad, Gary. I don't think Sam has given that juror a reason to acquit. We were having this conversation off air before. That there have been some people who had seen what Sam has said in the past, who have heard his side of the story, who have walked away. And I've been surprised by some of the people who have thought, hey, maybe you need to give him the benefit of the doubt in these scenarios. The evidence, I have not seen the evidence. I have not been sitting in the courtroom. What do you think is the toughest thing that he's fighting in that situation? I think when you look at the 1,000+ pieces of evidence that prosecutors have submitted, Sam talked about, the New York Times test, that he didn't want to have things in writing that could be used, ironically, to send him to jail or, to create a negative headline for him. But I think even if you ignore everything Carolyn, Nishad, and Gary said, the documentary evidence that is in the signal messages, the Excel spreadsheets, the Google Doc, love letter, I don't know what you want to call them.
Right.
You can deem Carolyn, Gary, and Nishad to be total liars. But I think that the actual documentation they have provided is convincing on its own.
It's convincing to say that he took customer funds that he was not supposed to have access to, put them in his hedge fund, and then did whatever he wanted with them and used it as a piggy bank at the same time. I mean, that's a fairly straightforward case.
Sure. I mean, Sam's going to try and make this as complex as possible. You kind of saw that a little bit on Friday, where he was, definitely droning on and probably boring people. And, that now jurors have the weekend to say, well, it was really confusing. Who am I to say what, the proper relationship between Alameda and FTX should really be? What do I know? I mean, maybe, Andrew, that's like what a defense looks like, is just like this, the kind of the.
And do you see any separation? I know we're going to have to run, but do you see any separation between the counts? Meaning, and this becomes important later, potentially for sentencing purposes.
Correct, right.
Do you see, these 3 counts as being, unassailable, that they'll convict here, but actually maybe these 2 other counts are more wiggly and he has opportunity there? Or do you think it's like, dominoes?
Sure. I mean, look, I think that we're going to see kind of what the charging instructions look like from the judge later this week. But that's demanding a lot of a juror to distinguish between, well, they defrauded Sequoia, but they did not defraud a customer. I predict that if he's convicted on any, it's going to be all of them, because ultimately this is a question about who you trust. Do you trust Sam, or do you trust the army of people testifying against them? I don't think there's much that you can kind of distinguish between on the individual charges here. I'm not seeing it.